Hey everybody, I'm Scott Lascombe, and today we're going to talk about writing your Upwork profile. Over the last 3 years, my Upwork profile has earned about $500,000. So I want to just take you through the steps that I use in order to get you to be found on search and get invited to more projects so that you can start closing more deals and earning more money. The primary way a potential customer finds your Upwork profile is through search. So really what you want to do is you want to simplify it as much as possible. So if you're like a JavaScript developer, you don't want to include JavaScript developer, you want to include like website developer because the initial search, the client isn't really going to be that educated. That's what they're coming to you for. So you want to simplify it as much as humanly possible. So for instance, if you're a copywriter, some clients don't know that they need a copywriter, but they know that they need a blog post written. So just make sure that you're including these copywriting tips in your headline and then structuring the content of each of your profile writing to include all of these keywords that you do. So if you're a copywriter, you may do blog post writing, social media post writing, content writing, all of these types of things. So you'll know all of the services that you provide and you want to list them out simply so that the first thing that you do is appear in search. That's always going to be the most important part. You can use search engine optimization for really any type of website that uses search. So whether that's Upwork, whether that's Fiverr, even Google, even LinkedIn as well. So you can apply these same principles through every single platform that you have a profile on. It's not really going to matter how fantastic of a profile you have if no one finds it. So really that's all we want to focus on at the beginning is just making sure that clients are able to easily find your profile through search. This is called inbound marketing, really. It's when clients come to you. So in Upwork, it would be when clients are sending you invites to projects. On LinkedIn, it's kind of the same thing. They type in a search for a graphic designer or a website developer, and then they end up on your profile. And then, that's the first step to you getting the project, that inbound marketing, because that's really what you want. Outbound marketing is the reverse of that. So that's when you're going out and you're presenting projects to clients and they may not need them now. But if a client is searching for you, they need an answer or a problem solved now. And they're just looking for the person to solve that problem. So, you want to optimize your profile writing as much as possible in order to do that. One of the ways that I really have found effective for doing that is, start with the headline. Your headline should include all of your keywords, if it's graphic designer, if it's illustrator, if it's, blog post writer, if it's social media manager, and, be as specific as possible with your keywords. So, if you focus on like TikTok, do that. If you focus on YouTube, add that in. The more specific you can get it, the better off you're going to be, because what's going to happen is clients are going to be trying to find you using very specific keywords because they have very specific problems. They may not just type in graphic designer because that will give them thousands and thousands of results. But what they might do is they may type in, Adobe XD graphic designer for website interfaces. So if that's what you do, make sure that those keywords are at the very beginning of your profile. So those go into the heading, they can go into the bullet points at the very beginning, And then it comes down to really structuring the content to tell the story, to make sure that you're coming across clearly. When someone lands on your profile, the real way that I like to structure content, especially for new users when they find my profile, is really what's called like upper, middle, and lower funnel content. And your upper funnel content is really content that you've written in order to attract the client, and it's their first impression of who you are. So you want to go over kind of really briefly, and these can only be like a paragraph long, and you can expand on this later. But the initial structure of these three pieces should only be about a paragraph long, one or two sentences, maybe three in certain cases. So for your upper funnel content, what you want to write is you want to write kind of an overall statement about you, your experience you have, and the things that you do, because the client's going to read that first. And if that aligns kind of with what they're looking for, they're going to move on to the next step. The next step is basically it's called the middle funnel. It's the second step of this like marketing funnel. And I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it does work very well. So when you're writing for the middle funnel, what you're doing really here is you're educating the clients on the specific problems that they want solved. So, instead of like focusing too much on the features, the features go into the upper funnel. The middle funnel is going to be more about benefits, So if a client is going, I want a Shopify website. Now, that's understandable, right? Because you might be a Shopify expert, you may be a website developer, you can solve this problem. But really what the problem is that the client is trying to solve is that they want to have a business that earns them income online. So, you want to start describing the benefit to them. So if you think about when you're writing the middle funnel, you want to make sure that you're really kind of focusing on the solution that the client's looking for. They're not necessarily looking for a very specific service, which is the feature. They're looking for a very specific result, which is the benefit. So that's really what you want to focus on. And then the lower funnel is really, it's just about getting started, all the technical details. So usually what I write in the lower funnel, it's going to be, how long the project will take, how soon I can get started on it, and how much it's going to cost. And a lot of freelancers, they make the mistake at the very beginning when it comes to like writing and having pricing in it, because what they end up doing is they want to make sure that they're maximizing their profit, and the client is trying to maximize or minimize the amount that they're spending. And then it comes to this very strange conversation where you're like, as the freelancer, you're asking the client, well, how much can you afford? And the client is asking, how much is this? And you go back and forth a few times and there's no real strong answer. And it's a mistake to do that. Clients, especially now, are so used to buying things online that they want the answer now. They want to specifically know how much it's going to cost. If you lay out your pricing very clearly, they're going to be very happy that you did that, and they're most likely going to go with you as their service provider because you've been straightforward with them. You're very open with it, and it's very easy to do it. If you're worried about losing a project because you're either too low or too high, one of the things that I've done, and that works really well, and it's a sales strategy that's worked for years and will continue working forever, is, there's a concept, and I didn't write this concept, it came from a book, and I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm sure you can find it online, is it basically says show low, show high, sell middle. So what you're doing is you have 3 tiers of pricing. This goes into your lower funnel. So you say, okay, that this person has read the middle funnel, they want a website. Now, how much does a website cost? Well, that's a really difficult question to answer because the websites can be $500, they can be $5 million, So, what you want to do is you kind of just want to outline the basic ranges, really. So if you do a website that starts at $3,000, you can say that's your low price. Your high price might be $30,000 and your middle price might be $15,000. But what this does is instead of just having one price and then the client being like, oh, this is too expensive for me, or, oh, this isn't high enough for my brand, because it works both ways. They may not, if you charge too little, they're not going to think that it's a good quality product. If you charge too much, it'll be outside of what they might expect. So really what you want to do is you just want to have these pricing ranges in mind for your clients in order for them to really understand what they're getting, and for you to be clear on the deliverables, and also not worry too much about potentially losing the client, because if you give them a wide enough price range, they're going to have something to choose from, and that's really making the client the expert. The next part of writing a really good profile, and this works across every platform, whether it's Upwork or whether it's LinkedIn or any type of platform where you're able to write things, like for your profile. And Upwork, I think they give you about 5,000 characters to write your profile, and LinkedIn, they give you about 2,500. But really what you want to do is you want to structure it with the headline, lots of keywords in there, and something catchy to make them stop scrolling. The next part will be kind of like a bullet point overview of everything that's in the profile. Just, 5 bullet points that kind of describe the entire thing. And then you want to do exactly what I just said with the upper funnel writing, then your middle funnel writing, and then your lower funnel writing. And then beyond that, there's going to be a lot more space where you can write, especially on Upwork. Upwork, at this point, you'll probably have another 4,000 characters to go, And what you really want to do is, start explaining your story, how you got involved in it, more interest in like your experience, testimonials that clients may have given you, the type of projects that you've done in the past, and you want to just make it keyword rich so that people are going to be able to find you during search. So make sure that you're using the entirety of the profile, because they may, like, a client will only probably read the first, 3 or 4 paragraphs before deciding whether, they want to get in touch with you. So, just make sure that when you're writing your profile, use the space that's provided, be very clear and concise in the top, really strong headline with all of your keywords, a bullet pointed list to kind of overview what they're about to read in the profile, then your upper, middle, and lower funnel. And then you can kind of get into more detail lower down. If they want to continue reading, a lot of clients don't, but some clients do. So you want to make sure that you're there for them and you're explaining kind of like the background, like why you do this, where you went to school, what got you interested in solving the client's problems. So, just kind of continue on, explain yourself in a lot of detail, and this will just increase your ranking because, one, these platforms like it when you use the entirety of like the space they give you. The next thing you want to do, especially for Upwork, is Upwork has 3 specialized profiles. So when you write your main profile, you can split it off into other things, so you may be a copywriter and you may have like your main profile written about copywriting. And then what you can do is you can split it off into like 3 other ones as well called specialized profiles. And you can write about, one might be about blog post writing, one might be about content writing, one might be about social media writing. So you have to decide on how those are, like what your specialized profiles are. And then, just do the exact same format for each of them. Obviously different content for each one because you're getting more specific into these services, but structured the same way. A nice strong headline with lots of keywords, a bullet pointed list that kind of overviews what they're about to read, upper, middle, and lower funnel, and then just the more filler content, if you will, to kind of explain the services that you do. The next part is going to be like your project catalog. And the great thing about Upwork is that they have a project catalog where users can shop, like clients can look through and kind of like buy particular projects, and you want to make sure that that's completed. Because one thing that all platforms like to see is when their users are using all of the features that they've given them. So you want to make sure that you're not leaving things out. Like, don't ignore the specialized profiles. Don't ignore the project catalog. Make sure all these pieces are filled out. You want completed like all the way, not just like a brief overview, but just do the entire thing, fill it out, and then you're going to start naturally ranking better and better because you're going to have more words, more content, and that's really what drives impressions and profile views. If you have a very short profile, it may be great and it may solve the problem, but the problem is that everyone else is going to search or appear in search results higher than you because they simply just have more of it and they've used all of the tools at their disposal. So just make a checklist and go through all the pieces that you're going to need, your main profile, your specialized profiles, your project catalog, and all of the other different pieces that like Upwork will give to you to use, and LinkedIn does this as well. One of the other things you can do is with the project catalog on Upwork is you can simply just port the content from this over to Fiverr. And that just gives you like cross-platform income. You want to be distributed as much as possible. Upwork is a fantastic platform on its own. I personally average over $100,000 a year on that platform, so it's perfectly fine. It's a fantastic platform. I've used it since it was Elance 20 years ago, and then it became Odesk, and then it became Upwork. So, I've continually stayed with them for a couple of decades now, and they've been fantastic. But, it's like investing. You want to have a very diverse portfolio of income. So, make sure you're on LinkedIn and you're using all of the features that they have to write your profile. On Upwork, same thing. Use everything that they've given you. On Fiverr, Fiverr doesn't give you quite as much flexibility because it's more of like a catalog-based system. So, but you can make a lot more projects. So instead of just having a few project catalog pieces on Upwork, you can have a giant catalog. The next thing is that, when it comes to these profiles, you also want to copy this to your own website as well. And the reason being is that Google really only indexes about 4% of the internet. 96% of the internet doesn't even appear on search. So the more like when you start out, if you make a checklist of say, 2 or 3 of the freelance platforms, and that would be like Upwork, Fiverr, and LinkedIn, finish those profiles really well, completely filled, and then also add it to your website as well, because your website, you can't control, like on Upwork, Fiverr, and LinkedIn, you can't control whether people see you. If you put a profile out there, you are going to appear in search, as long as it's complete. If you do your website, it may not index, or it may take months or longer to index, depending on how good the quality of your content is. But having no content is definitely not going to get you to rank in Google. So you want to make sure that you actually have something. So that's really all you have to do in order to have really great profiles. Structure the content well, make sure that you have a lot of keywords in it, and make sure it's all completed and you're using all of the features that are given to you on these platforms. I hope you learned something today. Have a good one.